Hey guys, welcome back to another Flesh and Blood video. This video is proudly brought to you by the House of Cards, the official sponsor of my stream. Be sure to check out the link in the description below for all of your Flesh and Blood needs. If you've been playing Flesh and Blood for a while, then you're familiar with Fai and Dromai. Fai and Dromai have both been staples of the CC metagame ever since Uprising's release. Now, most people will tell you that Fai is just favored to win against Dromai every single time. And I'm pretty incentivized to agree with those people, especially based off the games that I've played. But every now and again, Dromai offers such a hard to deal with game plan that even the ninjas can't crawl back into the game. Cards like Chromai, Kyloria, and Tome of the Imperial Flame have really buffed up Dromai's power level and her overall ceiling during one turn. Dromai being able to add 3 or 4 dragons to the board can be a downfall against ninjas, but if they're so far ahead, sometimes it's just too much to matter. With an overview look at the matchup, I think that Fai is a favored deck into Dromai. When you pair head jabs, Kodachis, and or Emberblade into the dragons, it's very easy to trigger Mask of Momentum and put yourself ahead by killing their dragons and applying pressure to their life total. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I hope you enjoyed the match. Okay, so we're able to go second here into Dromai, which I actually kind of like. The Mage Master boots just tell me that they're playing a little bit more of a slower game plan into like a big dragon style deck with the Wave of Reality, instead of them being on Snapdragons to try and race us. So this is definitely going to be a slower game, for sure. And if they attack us here with the Enderai, I was like, I am absolutely more than happy to just go ahead and I'm more than happy to just go ahead and pitch the Censor here. So what are our options? I mean, I would be lying if I said this felt very good. Like, the easiest play we have is just Kodachi Censor. That doesn't really leave us in too good of a spot. I wish our opponent would have attacked and let us filter a little bit here. Kodachi Censor looks like the most obvious play. I could pitch Lava Burst to lead with Kodachi so I could pitch it, so I could pitch stack a little bit, and then I could arsenal the and I could arsenal my other Censor here. I can't really pitch one of my Censors, which is unfortunate. I mean, I could alternatively go Kodachi Censor into Snap Lava Burst. I don't know that I really want to use my Snapdragon Scalers this early in the game. I don't think that's where I want to be at. So let's go ahead and take a counter off of the Enderai. We're not going to be able to kill the Enderai this turn. I mean, we could technically, but I'm not going to kill the Enderai this turn. I'm just going to go ahead and remove a counter from the Enderai. After we remove the counter, the Enderai will be a whole lot easier to kill. And then we can throw the other Kodachi at our opponent, and then we'll throw the Censor at them. And if they let it hit, we'll name something like, we'll probably end up naming Kyloria. Kyloria is one of those cards that you never want to block. So that's probably what we'll end up naming as Kyloria here. Try to make their hand a little bit awkward. Kyloria is a dragon that we always like to pop if we can. We could name something like Command and Conquer here if we wanted to. That would be fine if we wanted to do something like that. And then let's go ahead and attack our opponent for 5 here. If they have a defense reaction, they're going to be in a very good spot because they have the Spectral Shield from the Wave of Reality right here. So that's actually, so the Spectral Shield could put them in a very good spot. They could also just like block 5 or 6 here, keep the Spectral Shield going in the next turn so that they could be setting up a little bit to prevent some damage next turn. We're going to name Invoke Kyloria because that is the actual name of the card that we're looking to play here. And then I'm going to pitch the Censor to the Furnace here so that we can get it out of our hand. I'm not really looking to have a Censor in my next hand. I just want to arsenal my Lava Burst here and try to set up for a better hand. I mean, this hand's pretty good, like all things considered. I don't think there's anything wrong with this hand. Like, this is a pretty solid hand. Ooh, they pitch Passing Mirage. Interesting. We can lead off by throwing the Snatch at the Mirror guy here. And then we'll go Snap. And then we can go depending on what we draw, we can kind of play from there. So I'm pretty willing to just take whatever damage they have right here. They'll more than likely attack us with the Mirror Guy as well. I was like, poppers aren't super like common in Fai, so there's not a whole lot for them to be worried about here. Ooh, Pursuit of Knowledge. That's an interesting one. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and block 4 on that. I don't have any interest in hanging around to let them have a 5-card hand here. I'd much rather just block that. That's probably one of the best uses we'll get out of Furnace here the entire game. So let's throw Snatch at the Mirror Guy, considering we can just guarantee that we're going to get an extra card here. Our opponent could have a D-React here, and if they do, that would be very bad for us. Plus, they could also just give us a card in Furnace if they'd like to. So I think killing the Mirror Guy here with our Snatch is the best play we could make. Guarantees we get card draw here, and we're getting good value out of our snaps. So now we can go Kodachi. So let's see here. Let's throw Kodachi at them and see if they block here. I'm curious to know if they're going to be blocking here. Like, are they looking far enough ahead to be like, yeah, I'm going to block here to stop mask? Or are they not thinking about that? Because that's very possible. So they do look far enough ahead here to stop mask. It's a little bit of a chance that we took right there. Like, I wouldn't call it like a big risk or anything, but I mean, it was definitely a little bit of a chance that we took right there. Considering that they didn't have to block right there. We're hopeful that they just give us that card so that we can guarantee our hit next turn or on the next chain link. But here we're actually gonna force their hand to be able to block a breakpoint card or give us mask. Looks like they do have the Sink Below. Yep. Could have been Fate Foreseen there as well. Sink Below being able to cover up our mask is pretty good for them. And then now that I have 2 Draconic Chain Links, I'm going to go ahead and activate 5 for 1. We're going to come in for 1 here, putting our opponent to 37. And then I'm going to come in for 6 to be able to trigger Shuko to push as much damage as possible. So this turn was pretty solid. We had 7 Chain Links, and our opponent was forced to give up 2 cards, and we killed 2 dragons here. And we still ended up putting them down to 31, which is not too bad when you think about it. So Kodachi into E-Strike for 7 is 9. Or we have, if this is for 4 and then this is for 7, that's an 11-point turn. But it looks like we're just going to be blocking here. Kaloria is a pretty good card. So what we'll end up doing is we'll block with the E-Strike and the Lava Vein Loyalty here. I don't really want to give up my Furnace yet. I'd rather hang on to that. So we'll just go ahead and block the Kaloria here. We'll be patient. We'll block with 2 cards from our hand. Hope they don't have a Snatch right here. That would be pretty punishing for us. Dust Up's honestly not scary. Like, Dust Up's a fine card. But a lot of people, you'll see that a lot of people actually block with this card given the opportunity, or they actually just, like pitch it a lot. Most people don't want to transform the Ashwing here because you're giving us 1 step closer to being able to hit with a mask here. I'm going to throw this at the Kaloria because even if we do hit a blue here, it's still going to kill our Kaloria, which means we're forcing our opponent to beat us with what's in their hand. That we're forcing them to have a good turn here with what's in their hand. So having the Art of War in Arsenal is pretty solid here. That gives us a pretty good turn all the way around. And we drew a second Art of War, which I'm going to try not to play if I can. I'm just going to try and hang on to it for as long as possible. I'd like to set it up next turn, but we'll see what happens. I'm just going to take all of this damage here. We have yet to see a popper. Now, there's only 3 poppers in our list, so it's not like we're like, you know, guaranteed to see one pretty early on or even super consistently. It's one of the downfalls with only playing 3. Was that the 3rd sigil that they've played? Is that just the 2nd sigil? Maybe they pitched a sigil earlier. I'm not sure. So let's throw the Ronin Renegade at our opponent here, and then what we'll actually do is we'll play the Art of War, banishing our Snatch. We'll pitch Stab Wound here, and we'll see what happens. Because if my hand lines up in a weird way, I could play the second Art of War. It's also worth mentioning that I'm going to play that I'm playing the Ronin Renegade here and then using the Art of War as an attack reaction because we do not have Snapdragon Scalers, and I want to be able to banish my Snatch here. Had this been another attack, we could have considered going that route, but I think we're still in the best line of play here. So I think we're just looking, I mean, if this hits for 1, we get to go Kodachi, Mounting Anger. Or I could play the Art of War and banish the Stab Wound and see what we hit. I think let's just go ahead and play the next Art of War. I know I was just talking about hanging on to my Art of War if you can, but I think this is an okay line of play here. So we'll go ahead and throw the Kodachi at our opponent. So let's see, we could spend 2 resources to activate Fai here if we wanted to. How do we maximize our turn here? Maximizing our turn would be... So if we go Kodachi... this is really tough because the Phoenix Flame gets blocked pretty easily for 3 from hand here. This is tough. So if I go, I have Kodachi, E-Strike. I have Kodachi, Phoenix Flame, E-Strike here. So let's throw the Phoenix Flame at our opponent and force them to block. I could just go E-Strike with Go Again here for 7, attacking the Enderride to kill this to draw a card. And see what we find here, but I think this is a fine line. Our opponent have a defense reaction here. It's like, I assume they do. I assume there's no way that our opponent's going to give us Mask here. I would genuinely be baffled if they were going to. And then let's Kodachi our opponent. They'll go to 31 here. I don't think there's a reason for them not to just take this. And then let's attack our opponent and let's draw a card here. So this is going to be for 7. We draw into a Bittering Thorns, which is pretty good. I mean, being able to attack for 7 and still draw a card is pretty powerful. I mean, our opponent could just block to go to 26, and then they're in a boat where they play a card, and then they could come in for 3 and potentially 3 or 4 more here, depending on what they have. Now, we put one of our poppers on the bottom, so we only have 2 poppers left in our deck here, which is fine. Like, it's not the end of the world or anything. Yeah, we're just going to take 4 and go to 23. I mean, again, this is like a really good hand. So I'm okay with just taking the damage here and playing our big turn. I really wish they would have added a dragon to the board. It'd make it a lot easier for us to be able to hit with the Art of War here. So let's attack our opponent. And then we're going to play Art of War again as a reaction here. Now, our opponent's probably not going to be thinking Art of War because at this point in time, our opponent has already seen 2 in 1 turn. And the odds of us having our 3rd one right here is very low. Although they do block around it, which is pretty interesting in my opinion. I'm going to go ahead and play it, honestly. We're going to go buff and banish here since we have the cards and the resources. I'm going to banish the E-Strike and keep the double strike here because I think that's our best play. So this does not hit. At this point, we'll go Kodachi into our opponent. We'll throw the double strike for 2 at our opponent. I'm curious to see if they give us a card. They do not. Since we do not have any Draconic Chain Links, we're going to have to pitch an entire blue here to throw this to be able to get our Phoenix Flame. and our Phoenix Flame would be for 2, or our Double Strike would be for 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to throw my Double Strike again for 3. Now, I've given away a little bit of information here. I was wanting to throw my Phoenix Flame for 2 on that chain link to be able to pressure my opponent there, but I think I think it made more sense to attack for 3 at this point. So now we'll just come in for 1. And then we're going to come in for 6 because of not because of Shuko, but because of Art of War. We're going to come in for 6 with our Lava Burst here. I feel like as I'm playing right now, I can definitely tell that I haven't played this matchup a whole lot recently, and that like it's kind of showing right now. We'll just go ahead and pass, put these on the bottom. So we take 1. I'm pretty incentivized to just go ahead and block with my Lava Burst here. I think the Snatch offers more awkward hands for my opponent here, especially considering they do not want to block with the Furnace. They want to keep the Furnace around as long as possible. And I mean, we've seen what? 1 Fate Foreseen and 1 Sink Below, so we've really not seen that many D-Reacts here. So let's attack Yindarai here. Let's attack our opponent for 3. Let's attack Yindarai. And then we'll attack the Yindarai for 1 here to draw us an extra card and see what we can find into here. I mean, that's pretty good. So at this point, I could throw Salt the Wound at our opponent here for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So put a good amount of pressure on them, or we could throw the Snatch at them. We don't really have an either or option at this point. Like we can't do both, so we have to pick either or. I think we'll just go Salt the Wound. I think I'll leave the Yindarai. Now that I've taken the counter off of it, I'm pretty okay with being able to kill it with Kodachis or a Double Strike or something next turn. So I'm pretty okay to just like kind of see what their hand is. Now we know that they have the Tome on top, so I'm curious to see if they just play the Tome. Or no, Tome was 2 turns ago, so that's what they have in their arsenal. So they're getting ready to play Tome from their arsenal. We might be at a point where we're forced to give up Shuko and Furnace here. This hand is not great. I can go Kodachi at them, Kodachi at the Yindarai, into Soulbead Strike at them. Pitching my Lava Vein Loyalty, we can block with the Warmonger's Diplomacy and the CNC here as poppers if we want to. Leaving the Yindarai on the field or potentially a different dragon is probably our best play at this point. Okay, Dominia kind of sucks for us. It's a pretty poor time for us for them to find the Dominia right there. And they're going to get to take our popper here, which is very unfortunate. So we block with the Warmonger's Diplomacy. And then we get to go Kodachi. So let's think about this. Let's make the correct line here. We're definitely blocking 3. We'll go to 16. And then I guess we're just going to take 5, or we're just going to take 6 here. We can throw Kodachis at our opponent here. Is going to be the line. We throw Kodachis at our opponent. See if they block at all. We throw Soulbead Strike at the Dromai, and then if we hit a mask and we can do something, we can try to kill the Yindarai depending on what we draw, and then throw the Snatch at the Dominia to try and keep it off the board. So let's attack our opponent with the Kodachis and see if they block. They'll take the first Kodachi regardless. Most people pretty much always take the first Kodachi. Like, there's no reason for them to block the first Kodachi. A lot of Dromai players like this will block the second Kodachi because they're keeping themselves safe from being able to like get blown out by like us attacking one of their dragons, which I think is a pretty smart play all the way around. And then we'll hit the Dominia here, and we'll draw into a Censor. So we'll go ahead and we'll Arsenal a Censor, and drawing into a Command and Conquer here is pretty good. If they attack with the 3 Ashwings here, we'll just go ahead and take the 4, or they only made 2 Ashwings. So we'll go to 9, and then we'll just go ahead and go to 8. And then we'll go to 7. And then if they have the sense to pass right here instead of attacking, I was like, I would be pretty blown away, honestly. Would be pretty smart from them, but I don't. Most Dromai players are going to push tempo right there, because if I go to 4, they're in such a good spot. Like, that's so good for them at that point in time. And the double strike actually just makes this hand like insane right here. So what we can do is we can go brand at them, Kodachi at an Ashwing, or I'm sorry, we can go brand at them is how we're going to have to start, because we're going to need the brand to make one of these Draconic so we can get back a Phoenix Flame if we want to. So we're going to go brand at our opponent for 3. They'll probably give us a card here because they're stopping 3 damage. Now at this point, we attack our opponent with a Kodachi. They take the Kodachi. Now we kill an Ashwing with a Kodachi. We now have 2 chain links that have hit. And now we're going to kill your last Ashwing with our Kodachi and draw a card. Or with our double strike, not our Kodachi. Bittering Thorns is not bad. Although... this is interesting. This is a tough decision right here. So... we can go double strike for 2. Activate Fai. Attack with Phoenix Flame, and then pitch Bittering Thorns to play the Censor. Or at this point in time, the game's pretty close to over. We could just decide that we don't want our Phoenix Flame anymore. So we could go double strike for 2. I guess we don't really have a way to get our Phoenix Flame here and play the Bittering Thorns. Like, we don't really have a way that I can see anyway. Let me make sure here, because this isn't in my hand. So if I get the Phoenix Flame, I'll have Phoenix Flame and 1. So maybe I'm best just to go double strike for 2 into get Phoenix Flame and then play the Censor, arsenal the Bittering Thorns. I mean, there's no reason for me to get the Phoenix Flame here. Let's just come in for 2, and then we'll just throw the Censor. Like, if I'm just gonna pitch the Phoenix Flame, there's no reason for me to get it, because I'm not able to play an extra attack here, which is like kind of depressing. But if I was able to, like, I mean, I guess technically I could get it back, attack, and then come in again here if that's what I wanted to do. But I think I'm better off just like trying to throw the Censor here, and then next turn we're gonna be giving up equipment. So what have we seen? We've only seen 1 Kyloria. But we haven't seen any copies of Snatch, have we? I mean, they may not be on Snatch. Like, they could just not be on it. Our opponent decides to go to 5 here. Again, we're just going to invoke Kyloria, because I think Kyloria is one of the cards that presents the biggest threat. But at the same time, like, we have equipment to block with. I don't know. Let's name Kyloria here. I think that's fine. And then we'll just go ahead and arsenal the Bittering Thorns. And then we actually have an insanely good hand here. So I can take 3 and go to 4, because I'm never going to get Mask again. So we have Kodachi, Bittering Thorns, Ronin Renegade, Salt the Wound. I could alternatively block with Ronin Renegade if I wanted to. Or I guess I could block with Bittering Thorns and I turn Kodachi into another option here. Let's go to 4. I think going to 4 is an okay play at this point in time. This is going to be a close game. This is a scary one. Our back's against the wall here. They pick Go again, which is pretty terrifying. So if I go to 3, I technically don't die to the Arcane if they have it. I could just give up Salt the Wound and Mask here. I mean, this is a pretty good turn. Like, our opponent's got a pretty good turn here. Going to 2 is pretty scary. But I mean, my turn is Dachi, Thorn, Ronin, Renegade. I mean, I'm probably just supposed to give Bittering Thorns and this right here and stay at 4. And then just go Dachi Ronin Renegade, or Bittering Thorns Ronin Renegade. I think that's my best play here. I think like this is our turn to give up our equipment block. Maybe I'm supposed to go to 2 there and just kind of like take the chance that we cross the finish line. But I don't think that's correct. That doesn't feel correct to me. Feels like if I decide to just take some damage and go down, I'm just kind of playing fast and loose. And I don't really want to play that way. Like I feel like that's a very quick way to lose to Dromai. I really need them not to have a sink below here or a fate foreseen. We've seen 1 fate and 2 sinks, so they definitely have a defense reaction here. That's unfortunate for me. I guess let's throw this because it strips a card, or they're forced to give us Furnace here. I like forcing my opponent here to make a decision on what they want to keep. Now, if they go to 1, like this hand is not good when our opponent's at 1. Wow, and they had Tome. Hopefully, it's not that impressive of a Tome. I mean, we're guaranteed going to 3 this turn if they can put a Dragon or an Ashwing on the board. Really depends on what we're looking at. They pitch Rabble, Command, and Conquer. Go to 2. Because at this point, at least if they have an Asvali, I'm not dead. Well, that is really unfortunate. I mean, I'm forced to block 4 here. And then I'm just in a really bad spot because now they have 2 dragons on the board and I can't take my turn off to deal with either one of them because I'm going to leave them with 4 cards here. So, like, I don't think we can win from here. I think that's game right there. I think the Tome sealed the game. If they're forced to like pitch a card to play a card and then like their other card is a 2-cost card there at that point in time, I'm in an okay spot. But the fact that they had the sink below for the Bittering Thorns was just insane right there. Do they have another D-React here? Wow. All right, so they've had D-Reacts every single time they've needed one, and that's just cost us the game. We never, like, we had a double Art of War turn, and then we had another Art of War turn, but even then, like, the turns were, like, super mediocre. There was nothing great about them. So now we block 4. He swings the Necria. Interesting. Interesting that you swing the Caloria there and not last. And then we die to the Necria. That was a close game. Our opponent played very well. We just weren't able to come out on top this one. It's always disappointing to lose the close games like this, but in moments like this, I can at least hold my head high and say that it was a close game and that I did my best. The one thing that I've noticed when I went back and re-watched this game, though, is that it looks like I'm playing from behind the entire game. It looks like I lost tempo pretty early, and I was just fighting to try and get back into the game at any turn that I could. I had a couple of hands throughout the game that were pretty powerful and overall took 2 to 3 cards out of my opponent's hand, but none of them were able to put me on the front foot enough to be able to win the game here. The ultimate nail in the coffin was when my opponent played that Tome of the Imperial Flame on the last turn. I knew that I was just sitting dead in the water at that moment in time. But still, my opponent had only seen 1. They were due to see another one. We had gone through most of our decks at that point. Guys, if you see anything you think I could have done better, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear about it. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take it easy, guys.